Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's March 14th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And we started out with a nice downtrend. We got a little overshoot here. We broke the trend line here, moved down to attempt at a new low, and then we just ended up in a trading range the rest of the day. You can see really from, I guess it probably started about 10:40, close to 11 o'clock, and it was just sideways after that. We had a little bounce here off the lows, but we brought it right back really quickly. And we stayed in the lower half of this trading range all afternoon, so there's just not much at all happening out here. This was a fairly nice trend down. There weren't a lot of good opportunities to get in this. There were a couple, but for the most part, there weren't a lot of good opportunities to get in this downtrend unless you got in here early. There's a couple right in here about midways. Most of the short trades were short. You didn't really get a lot of long opportunities either, so but it wasn't a bad trading day. So let me back out here and we'll talk about the trades. Make this just a little bit bigger. It was interesting. I got two separate emails today, both of them saying they had their best day ever. One gentleman told me that said I'm actively trading live now. I'm very happy to say I'm profitable. I'm one of those who took 1.5 years to get to this state, but now in that calm, anticipating state of mind, engineering background. And I'll be honest with you, it's difficult for engineering types to make it in this business because engineers usually deal in absolutes. There's no room for error when you're an engineer. And so a lot of times they have a really hard time making it as a trader. So he's a great example of somebody that really doesn't have the right background that was able to finally get it. So it tells you 1.5 years. It's not too bad either. 1.5 years is really not a lot of time and effort to make it in this business. So congratulations to that gentleman. I also got a message from another guy, basically said the same thing. Said he had his best day. Let me find his real quick, and I'll just share with you what he said as well. Shoot, where'd it go? Okay, here it is. He sent me. I just thought I'd share my chart with you after a difficult week. Today was great, and it made up for all. Following my rules and waiting for the best setups keeps you out of the crap. Yes, you do miss some moves, but boy, do you benefit when things line up. And I agree with that. Just being patient, letting the corrections play out, waiting on the right moves. And of course, whenever it trends like this, people that struggle with range days, which we've had a lot of that lately, they tend to do better when you have a range day. And he's added a few different things of his own to it, and he might comment to me later about this. But I think one of the reasons he does better when on days like today is because the technique he's using basically is great for trends and reversals of trends. That's what it helps you find. And so when you get a reversal, it seems to work well for him. But when you get to going up and down is where you're going to struggle with that particular technique that he's using. So he's using some of our stuff and just adding his own stuff to it. And he may want to comment on that. He can't. Feel free to if you'd like. I don't ever call anybody's names on these. I don't ask for permission to share them, so I prefer not to call their name unless they tell me that they don't have a problem with it. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting that I had two different people tell me they had their best day ever, so the same day. But that's great for both of them. Glad you're having success. Stay with it. You'll only get better. The more you sit here in front of this screen and get the experience of watching price action, the better you get. And what happens is there's so many different things to see and different techniques that it takes a long time to see it all more than one time. And that's why that's another reason why this takes so long, because you sit here and you start to see it trend every day and you get to anticipating, and then suddenly it's doing this and it trips you up, or it does like this every day for a week and then suddenly it trends and that trips you up. So you have to learn to determine, just as an example, you get stuck in this and people start automatically thinking you buy down here every time, and you do if you get the right setup, but eventually it will break through and one way or the other and trend again. And that's when people get thrown off. They'll start just selling it blindly, and then all of a sudden you sell it blindly here, and it just keeps going through. And the next thing you know, when it breaks through here at 62 and goes all the way to 67, almost 68, well, this done moved against you 4 or 5 points there, and you can't afford to do that because it may keep going, it may not come back. So that's where it kind of trips people up, and that's why it takes a while to see everything, and you got to see it more than once, and you got to get used to it. So it takes a long, long time to sit here and get the experience you really need of screen time. I can't tell you how important getting as much screen time as you can and taking as many trades as you can, and make sure you're on the you're trading a simulator. And the idea is to take every trade you see that you think is correct and trade as much as you can just to get used to seeing it all. And where you make your improvements is when you go back and you study your trades. It's helpful to find your tendencies, to see where you're making mistakes and learn what you're missing. You could watch me trade all day long, and that would be great. It would feel good. But when it came time for you to trade, it won't help you at all, because it's not going to be the same. My tendencies are not going to be the same as yours, and not going to be the same as the two guys that sent me their charts today. We may have some similar things that we do where we make mistakes, but for the most part, you watching my tendencies is not going to help you, and me watching yours is not going to help me. You have to trade and find your tendencies, but the only way to do that is to study your chart at the end of the day. So put your trades on there at the end of the day and study them diligently. Where you figure out where you went wrong, what you missed, and then try to correct that. And if you can't figure it out, send it to me and I'll help you with it. I'll try to point out what I see that might help you next time. And that's how you learn. So just keep trading every day. But the most important part is at the end of the day, you got to study your chart and study your trades. The first thing I do would come in and I'd study all my trades, and I'd see what I did wrong, figure out what I did right, and I would learn from that. And then I would just start at the beginning of the chart, right here around 7 o'clock or whatever, and I'd just work through the chart bar by bar, and I would study each setup, and I would study what's going on there. And it's much easier to see it after the fact. And we get that comment all the time. Anybody can see it after the fact, but that's not true. Anybody can't see it after the fact. A lot of people cannot see it after the fact. So you got to learn to see it after the fact first. And then once you continue to hone that skill of finding it after the fact, you'll slowly start to see it in real time. You might start to see second entries first, or you might start to see failed breakouts, but you'll start to see little things in real time, and it'll be a milestone for you. You go, oh, I saw that before it happened, and I read it, and I was exactly right. But you'll do that more and more. And the longer you do this, the better you'll get. I tell people, I still get better at this every day. I still learn new things. I still improve, and you can too. But the key is just to keep working at it day after day after day. But anyway, enough about that. I didn't mean to get off on that tangent, but it was probably time to talk about it again anyway. Well, let's talk about the trades. When I came in, we were in this real tight range here. And we're just going sideways, and then, of course, we drop out here, and we trade all the way back. It takes a lot of buying if you're trading way down here, to suddenly reverse that and close almost on its very high. And that's a second entry long. Notice that's a new high. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry. That's 2 legs back. It's a chance to get in the range near the low with enough room to get out before you get to the high. It's only good for a scalp, but that's all we're looking for in a little tight range like that. Comes back down and it bounces again here, but that bar is just so neutral. You can get in low enough here, but it's too neutral a bar. I wouldn't take that one. Then it runs up, and of course now you're turning down off the high again, and you got a nice bearish bar. Just go short one tick below that, and off it goes. And if you catch this one entry right here, you could have ridden this all the way down. Now you probably wouldn't. Personally, I would exit on this reversal, and I'd look for a new entry. But we didn't really get a chance to enter here. We got our break right here, and we moved to a new low, and then we're just kind of going sideways again here. You could probably argue for a short in here. There's a couple of double tests, and there's some there's some certain resistance right there. I mean, this is definitely a little trading range, and you can see it. And you get a little failed break lower here, but when that failed break lower happened, it wasn't so clear on the lows yet. As you can see, we'd only bounced there one time, really, so it just wasn't real clear on the low yet. And this bar is too neutral. You can't go short below it, even though you got a second entry short. And you do get a little double test here, but again, it's not a very bearish bar. It's just real neutral. And then you turn up and turn back down again, but again, it's very neutral. And then it bounces off the low. Again, not a very good bar, not much room to get out, even though it goes higher. So there just really wasn't a good chance to enter right there. Not a very good chance at all. And then this, you could treat this like a failed breakout, but by the time we started lower, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, 5, 6 bars really in a row, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are dojis. And I'm talking about 3 of them are perfect dojis. So it's just not a great place to go short. It's tempting to go short there. I wanted to go short there, but next time you go short right there, I guarantee you'll get burned. It's just not a good entry. And of course it takes off, and once it starts going lower, you look for a measured move and maybe hope you get another chance to enter it, but you really it never gives you another chance. It just falls straight down, and you can see your measured move. I mean, that's basically, we went one tick further, it looks like, so that's basically a perfect measured move, and then it reverses. Now we're working back up, and I originally had this drawn up here, but it wasn't fitting really well, and this is really where the downtrend started. And I got this line from here earlier off these 3 swings, and I just drug it up to here. So that's where I was looking for something to turn, but we didn't quite turn exactly. I mean, that's close enough if we had a good setup to go short. But later on, I moved it down here, and you can see it fits much better, and it plays out right there. So I believe that was where it needed to be the whole time. So doesn't matter. You still get the other setups if you follow your short-term stuff here. But this is really where the downtrend started. We were just kind of going sideways here, and we dropped a little bit. But I would say the downtrend really started right there. And anyway, we're correcting here. You get a breakout, close outside, a move to a new high. We actually get 2 legs up, and it turns down right along that trend line, and you get a nice bearish bar. It actually broke higher and turns down, and notice that new low. So first entry short, second entry, so that's a second entry short. Key entry point, you really could argue there's resistance across there, another little range right across there. You can see that if I draw the line. And so it's like a little failed break, second entry short. You've had a break of this little trend, move to a new high, 2 legs up. So I like that one. Generally, you're better off to wait on the lower high, which you get right here, but it's not bearish enough. But you get that, we push on through the EMA, pull back and test that line again, and it breaks higher and turns and goes right out the other side. I like going short right there. And again, if you caught this one, you could ride this all the way down, and you could have ridden this one quite a long ways. So if you caught just 2 of these, you would have had a pretty nice day. So now it's off to the races. And this is actually a failed second entry long too. Notice that new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, off it goes. Comes back to that trend line here and confirms it, but that's very congestive. You didn't quite get back to the EMA. You're going short at the low, a little risky. And it just kind of bounces down that trend line, but you don't really get a good setup. And then you finally get a close outside that trend line. It's moving up. It gets a close outside it, a move to a new high, and then off it goes. And this one, I really wanted to take this trade, and technically you could have gone short right here. I'll make this green. This one's very, very tempting. You just really don't want to go short below that bar, but when prices broke below this one, or when this one ended, you might put a sell stop right there, or you might let it break lower and drop a limit order. But if you'd gone anywhere but right there at the bottom or where you normally would have entered, you wouldn't have got filled on it. So it is right off the key entry point, and it does close outside this trend line and move to a new high. So this one is real close. You could argue for it to be definitely green, but it's just not a perfect setup, and you got to be real careful on those setups. But it's a really nice move. So if you didn't catch it, don't let it beat you up because you followed the rules. It's just simple as that, and this really should be right along there like so. And you see you're moving down, you get a close outside, a couple legs down a new low, and then it reverses. And you don't want to be entering in here in any direction, long if anything, but that's really risky. And of course now you're moving up this little trend line, you get a break, move to a new high. This is really a bearish bar, but it's kind of in the, you really kind of need to wait on a lower high here because we're probably headed back to here. So I'm going to want to see a lower high, and you get that right here in a big bearish bar, another easy scalp, and then you get the failed second entry long. So I like entering there, and when it didn't go lower and bounced again and then turns down, I liked it because you can really see it working down that EMA and that midline all together. And so this is really a double top here as well. So this is like another failed second entry long, and it's close to not having enough room, but with your lows being down here and trying to go higher that many times and failing, if a market can't go up, it's going to go down, and if a market can't go down, eventually it's going to go up. And so you can see it making lower highs here every time, and pretty much lower lows except for right there. Every time here we went lower, lower high, lower low, lower high, and then you just kind of sideways there, but then it makes another lower high and turns down and gives you a nice bearish bar. So of course now we move to a new low again here, we bounce, we're working up, we get a close outside, move to a new high, come back, you get a lower high, but look how neutral that bar is. Too risky, especially not with having a lot of evidence that is strong resistance there. And this is really the first break of this two-tiered channel. Even though we got an overshoot, you could get a reversal, but when you've been trending that long, you almost always will try to retest the lows. Even if even if prices aren't successful, they'll try. And so you really would expect prices to try to push lower here. So you're just waiting on the setup, and then look what happens. You get the double top, you get a first entry, move down, you get a second entry that fails with a lower high, and it's right off what looks like a trend line there, and it takes off again, and it comes back. You get just a first entry, fairly bearish bar, but it's a first entry, and you were really close to those lows, and you still got this area right across here to be concerned about. And you can see what's really, we pushed through it just a minute, but then we came back to it again. So I don't think you want to take any more shorts down here. And then it pushes up, right, goes right through the EMA, pulls back, and you could draw that trend line off those first couple of bars there, and pushes through the EMA, comes back, and then gives you a nice bullish reversal bar. I'd rather see another breakdown, but this is looking like a range now, and we've come off the low multiple times, as you can see right there, and we actually had a little failed breakthrough there, and look what happened last time. Then we had another little failed breakthrough, and you get another big rally. And so, but it pushes back, and it comes back, and it tests that level where you bounce multiple times to the tick and then reverses. I like going long there. It's real close to being blue, but it's not a true reversal pattern with that 3 tries to go lower that I like to see. So I only made that one green. But if you catch that one, look at that move straight up. And that move's good for 27, basically 27.55 to 27.67. So 12-point move or so. I mean, if you just got out right here, you've had a pretty good move on it. So that turns out to be a nice move, and that's the only really opportunity you get to enter that. There's no other safe way to enter that trade all the way up. Again, with this being way up here, that far away from the EMA and overshoot, that is really tempting to enter. You get a lower high here, but it doesn't tick higher, and you still got enough room for the EMA, but I wouldn't recommend that one. I'd rather see you enter up here than enter after we've already moved back a couple of swings. And then it finally comes back right here and gives you your failed second entry long. You actually get your failed second entry long there, but notice it never breaks lower till here. And then you've had another little jog up that's failed as well. So that's where you want to go short. And plus, look, you're back inside. The resistance is holding. It's resistance again. That's not a perfect signal bar, but it's bearish enough, especially with that being the first break here and the first correction. And then off it goes. And again, if you just catch that one trade, look at the move you get. But notice there's a new high there. You're working down first entry long, pull back second entry long. It fails. It actually goes out the high end. It's right off that trend line again. I like going short there. You got to be a little bit concerned about this line, but we've already pushed through that twice. So this is really where your support is now, and that's probably where we're headed. And you got plenty of room looking at it like that, and you notice we went a little bit further. And then it bounces, pull back first entry, moves up, second entry. Everything's holding on that trend line up through there. And so it's a failed second entry long. I'd like to see it through the EMA, but this is proof enough that we've got a pretty good range here. And so we're probably going to the other side. It doesn't turn out to happen, but it's still an easy scalp. So it actually went lower and turns and goes out the other side. Just go long right there. It jogs back. I wouldn't add on or enter after that point. But if you're already in here, just hang on. But I wouldn't re-enter right here. That bar is relatively bullish, and it's one more jog back. That's what probably people wanted to really see. Some of your smarter traders probably would have been a little bit leery about taking that one and probably would have held on to see if there was one more jog back and break lower there, and there was. And so that's probably where most of them jumped on and ran it up, just enough for a scalp. Actually, that's more than enough for a scalp, and then it sells off again. And that gets you into the 2 o'clock hour. So not a lot of trades today, but there were enough. And there were some pretty good ones with some nice runners. So generally, if we're in one of these tight ranges like this, I'm not going to try to get a runner. And a bigger range like this, if you can get in off the lows or the highs going, the lows going long or the highs going short, and there's 12 points in there. Or there's actually more than that. This is 2751 maybe, and this is 2762. So that's about 11 points there. So that's enough to try to get a runner if you can get in near the lows or off the highs. But otherwise, when you're in this tight stuff, I usually don't even try for a runner. I just scalp out and I'm done with it. So, and sometimes it'll take off without you. This is one right here that took off, and if you'd have caught this trade right here and held a runner, you could have stayed with this all day, but I probably wouldn't try to hold a runner up there. Most of the time, they're not going to work out. Eventually, it's going to break out one way or the other, but it's just too hard to determine when that's going to happen. And you might get stopped out on your runners 10 times before it finally breaks loose and goes. And so it's just the one time I do like to get runners is on a failed breakout. Like if it breaks out up here and fails, because a lot of times that'll give you a major high of the day. Or if it breaks out down here at the lows and fails like right here, I might hold a runner, because a lot of times that will be a major low of the day and it'll rally from there and never look back. And if it fails out here, it'll sell off from there and never look back. So those are about the only times that on a tight range that I like to hold a runner. So, but anyway, that's what we had for today. I'm still not sure if I'm going to be working tomorrow or not. Definitely won't be working Friday, so no mid-morning chart lesson on Friday. We're not doing any YouTube chart lessons regardless on Friday, so nothing different there. But there won't be a mid-morning chart on Friday on the website. And again, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be working tomorrow. Um, I'm just going to kind of have to see how the day goes. So if you don't hear from me in the morning or no chart lesson tomorrow afternoon, you'll know why. I just took the day off to be with my wife and help her out. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it maybe tomorrow. If not, we'll be back Monday. Um, Hope everybody has a great week. Hope you have a great weekend if I don't talk to you before then. And I'll see you next time. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com.